so it goes for the Cardinals. I wonder, did they tell Carson Palmer before he agreed to join the team that they were going to lose one of their best defensive players for 25% of the 2013 season? Fair disclosure, I think Carson Palmer should have known that, because one day after the Cardinals celebrated the fact that they won't be quite as far to the back of the pack in the NFC West with the arrival of Carson Palmer, they now have let the world know, the NFL made the announcement technically, that Darrell Washington, star linebacker, only 3 years in the league, already had a long-term extension. He's going to be gone 4 games to start the season. And anytime we hear 4 games out of the blue for a guy, we assume it's performance-enhancing drugs. But it's not. We have to be clear on that. It's a different policy. Now, under the performance-enhancing drug policy, 1 failure, 1 mistake, 1 missed test, 1 failed test, 1 positive test, 1 violation, you get a 4-game suspension, up to and including the dreaded non-human urine, which I guess you'd better hope was, a PED violation. Otherwise, you got a real problem. With this specific case, Darrell Washington, it's a violation of the substance abuse policy, and you don't get a 4-game suspension under the substance abuse policy for a one-shot violation. You have to have multiple violations. Now, in fairness, and I'm going to be writing more about this, I've been gathering some information. Everybody's hush-hush about it, obviously. This apparently isn't the classic case of a guy, for example, this isn't Washington, this is an example, a guy smoking marijuana, testing positive once, being put in stage 1 of the program, testing positive again, being put in stage 2, being fined 4 game checks, testing positive again, and getting the 4-game suspension. Maybe a little more complicated than that with Darrell Washington. I'm going to be writing about it later today, but it's possible that in this case, and also in other cases, it wasn't a positive test as much as it's a failure to comply with the stringent requirements the NFL imposes on a guy when it's time to test. Because once you're in the program, you can be tested multiple times a month. I think the number's up to 20 times a month. You need to check that. If you miss a test, if you've got just some screw-up, some glitch, you don't get there in time, it's treated as a positive and you go to the next level. So either way, Darrell Washington is now 1 more positive test or failure to show up for a test or any other violation away from a 1-year suspension. My understanding is the Cardinals are still firmly behind him, and he remains one of the best young players in the National Football League. And it is important to point out there was no steroid or any other performance-enhancing drug involved in this. This is substance abuse, recreational stuff that, frankly, I don't know why the NFL cares about, because typically it's something a guy is doing on his own time. Check out Pro Football Talk on NBC Sports Network weeknights at 5 p.m. Eastern and PFT Live weekdays at noon Eastern on NBCSports.com.